everybody, what's going on? You are here with Tending the Flag. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. This week we have a special episode coming to you where we are going to talk about not just the Magnolia Course and its redesign, but a bit of a deep dive into the history of golf at the Walt Disney World Resort. But before we get that underway, there are some introductions in order, of course. My name is PJ Kanojan, and I'm coming to you here from the wonderful city, the colonial city, ye olde town of Williamsburg, Virginia. And on the other half of the internet, not the table, I always say table every week, but the other half of the internet from me, from the first state, from the state that has more coastline per capita of seagull. Don't fact check me on that. I'm just kind of making this one up. Kevin Leonowich, how you doing tonight, Kev?
I'm doing great. I'm absolutely just mind-boggled by per capita seagull.
Sure.
Okay.
I don't know if that's true.
Oh, that's
but
fair.
You know what? If anybody's from the Audubon Society and you're listening, give us a fact check on that.
I thought you said not to fact check.
Audubon can.
Okay.
If we have somebody from the Audubon Society, they are allowed to.
All right. I'm going to need sources from them, too.
So yes, before we kick off the proceedings tonight, of course, my drink of choice tonight is an orange ice prime. That's what I got. Nothing too crazy. It's special. It's prime. It's good. I like it. They're not a sponsor of the show, but of course, I wouldn't complain. Kev, what are you drinking?
I actually just got done crushing a Country Time pink lemonade, but it was in like a Capri Sun pouch. Possibly was meant for my son's lunch tomorrow.
That's okay. You know what? Sometimes the father has to come first.
Sometimes. But like in a good faith gesture, I put 2 back in the fridge for him.
Okay, so he's cool tomorrow.
Yeah, he'll be
that's
good.
the important thing.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I would hate to open up my lunchbox and not have a Country Time lemonade in a Capri Sun pack.
Yeah.
I'd be throwing hands when I get home.
Throwing hands. I also stole the I love you, son note, too.
Oh,
all right, I'm just kidding. Cut that part out.
No, I'm not cutting it out. You're going to get shamed. You're going to get shamed by...
No shaming.
You know what? Comment in the comment section.
Do you believe what I just said? Yes or no?
Yeah, there you go. Poll for the week. All right. So, yeah, we are... This is, I guess it's the first of our deep dive series. Eventually, we'll probably come up with a better name, but the intent here is, I don't know, maybe once a month, once a quarter, something like that. Maybe once a quarter, considering how busy we've been lately. Just kind of look at a course and do a really deep dive into maybe the history of it, the tournament history, the architecture, anything that's really interesting and like stands out on the course to us and kind of pops us and grabs our attention and makes us say, hey, that would be a cool thing to talk about. And for me, I'm a huge fan of Walt Disney World. I worked there as a college program participant from 2004 to 2005, hung out there a lot on family vacations, moved down to Orlando just to hang out at Walt Disney World year round, and Universal Studios, SeaWorld, all that stuff. So the Palm and Magnolia courses and the Lake Buena Vista course have been almost like a second home to me. Played them a number of times, and so has the 9-hole Oak Trail. The first 2 years I was down there, I had an annual pass that allowed me to play Oak Trail walking, of course, as many times as I wanted. So I was on there a couple times a week. So this is a subject near and dear to my heart. Kev, you have not played the Disney courses, right?
I have not. No, Disney was never a golf trip for me. So I'm interested to hear firsthand some of your experiences.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, the courses are obviously run by Arnold Palmer management now, so they are pretty good. They just recently redesigned the Magnolia Course and added a Grumpy's Gauntlet to the end of it, a new reimagining of holes 14 through 17, which was kind of the catalyst for this whole deep dive. We wanted to talk about that, but then as we dove deeper, we found a lot more cool things to talk about as well. So yeah, let's get right into it with a bit of the history of just golf in general at the Walt Disney World Resort. So the Walt Disney World Resort first opened to guests on October 1st, 1971. And at that time, there were only 2 resorts open there for people to stay at. We had the Polynesian and the Contemporary resorts. And of course, if you've ever been there, you know they're on the world famous monorail loop that connects them to the Magic Kingdom. Later on, they'd add a third resort, the Fort Wilderness Campground, about a month or so later. So at that point, not only could guests ride like classics they had seen in Disneyland, like It's a Small World, Peter Pan's Flight, outside of the park, there were a ton of things to do. So you had dining, you had relaxing by the pools, you had boating, fishing, you had tennis. But one thing that was a favorite of the Disney executives was golf. In fact, there's a famous story where after the opening of Magic Kingdom, then president of the Walt Disney Productions Company, Card Walker, he left right after giving a speech to open the park and went right to the golf course for a round. So it's pretty fun story there.
Yeah, it's quite the flex.
Right? The Palm Magnolia courses opened with a resort, in 71, along with the Lake Buena Vista course opening a little bit later in 1972. Then later on, and this is one thing I never knew and I thought was kind of cool when I did my research. In 1980, there was a 6-hole course added called Wee Links that opened. Like, Kev, if you went down there, you would take your son and you would rent some clubs, you would get golf instruction, and the whole point of that course was to teach youngsters how to play golf.
Oh, that's incredible.
Right? And they had professionals, of course, they had golf teachers, but if you just wanted the father-son outing, they had everything there. You just rent the clubs, didn't have to bring anything, just rolling out the 6 holes. Wee Links, of course, eventually closed, and that evolved into the 9-hole Oak Trail course. And in reading that, now it makes sense to me because there are 6 holes basically on one side of the lake, and then you cross like this big walkway to get to another 3 holes. So now that I read that, I'm like, okay, it clicked in. That made a lot of sense to me on the design for that.
That's awesome. Is that like a par 3 course? Is it a shortened course? Or
no, it's pretty much a standard 9-hole. Like I think the yardage is pretty comparable to like front nines or back nines anywhere else. So it's not like an executive course. It's not a par 3 course. It's just a straight up 9-hole walk in the afternoon course.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, and they do foot golf there now too, which is a blast. If you haven't tried foot golf, try it. Oh yeah, still doing it.
It was really big for maybe 2 months up here, and I remember actually playing with a group of friends. It disappeared real fast up here.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Now they have, I want to say down in Orlando, they have like 3 that I know of places you can play foot golf. Anyway, moving on after foot golf. We come to 1982, which saw the opening of a new golf course at the property called Osprey Ridge. This one, I'm going to give you some names. We had Osprey Ridge, designed by Tom Fazio.
Okay.
And Eagle Pines, designed by Pete Dye.
Ooh.
That one opened in 1992, and they both opened under the name of Bonnet Creek Golf Club. And I found a great quote from the president of Disney Attractions, Judson Green, where he said in 1982, basically what we were all thinking shortly after the opening of the final 2 courses. He said, "Few resorts in the world offer golfers the opportunity to play courses the quality of those designed at Walt Disney World by Joe Lee, Pete Dye, and Tom Fazio. The 99 holes of golf that make up the Magic Linkdom, offer even the most discriminating golfer new excitement at every tee, fairway, and green on property." So yeah, think of it. You have Fazio, you have Pete Dye, and we'll talk about him in a little minute when we go over kind of the course design. But Joe Lee was one of the most prolific Florida architects of golf. Like, he basically designed a ton of courses all over Florida. So think of those names.
No, that's a big draw, especially if you're trying to make one of these, golf destinations.
Right. But what's really crazy is that Bonnet Creek wound up closing on August 1st, 2007 to be incorporated into the Four Seasons Resort. And it was reopened in 2014 as Tranquillo Golf Club. So today, you can still play the Tom Fazio Osprey Ridge, but Eagle Pines is gone. You took out a Pete Dye course.
It's like taking a piece of my soul away.
Right? I figured you would have some big feelings on that.
I don't know how to express them right now.
Now, I haven't had the opportunity to play Tranquillo Golf Club because you have to stay at the Four Seasons, and, that tax bracket is well beyond my reach right now. But
that's fair. I guess that would be my next question.
Nope, didn't play it when I was down there. But, yeah, that's kind of cool about the history of just the courses down there. But, of course, here today we're specifically talking about Palm and Magnolia. And what more can be said about them? I mean, the history is told through tournaments, and we'll go over some of the famous wins and the players. But what I really want to focus on, and I found some fascinating stuff about the clubhouse.
Okay.
So when the property opened in 71, the clubhouse isn't where it was today. So now you drive into the property, there's a fork in the road, you take a right, and it gets you to the pro shop. up to the left on top of the hill, you're going to see a hotel that's called Shades of Green. That was the original clubhouse.
Okay, now a hotel.
Yeah, now a hotel.
Okay.
The clubhouse now is really cool. I mean, I think I've sent you pictures before about the Payne Stewart tribute in the clubhouse, the players' lockers, and all that stuff, though. But that explains one thing, that if you've ever played the Magnolia Course, why you had to drive the golf carts for a good 5 minutes to get back to the first tee, because of where the clubhouse was originally located.
Okay, gotcha. Keep it away from the course because no golf balls in hotel rooms.
Right. Not a good thing. But yeah, the original clubhouse, I mean, if you haven't seen it, it's basically a humble 2-story building. It's made of volcanic rock and wood, and it looks nice back then. They had restaurants, of course, showers, any amenities you'd expect from a clubhouse, wanting to attract a PGA tournament. And they wound up attracting a PGA tournament that had a pay up of $150,000. That was the purse back then. Adjusted for inflation, we're looking about $1.2 million. But from what I saw about the tour way back when they were first holding it, $150,000 was roughly in line with what they were paying out for most of the tournaments at that time.
Nice, yeah. Yeah, I was looking through some of these, and even when it was almost $1 million in the last few years of the running of this tournament, which I think 2012 was the last year, and the payout was just shy of $850K. So still a good purse for a pretty minor tournament.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I think we both agreed on when we were talking right before the show, that it was kind of a showcase more for Disney World than anything else. But still, $150,000 isn't too badly. I mean, they're not running some Mickey Mouse organization over there.
No, but
Well, I guess they are.
Technically.
Okay, bad joke.
Bad joke.
We'll edit that out.
No.
My bad jokes get edited out. No, okay.
We're recording.
I'm the editor, sir. I am the editor. I can edit whatever I want. So anyway, we'll fast forward to 1973.
Sure.
And at this point, they decided to expand the clubhouse. They added 151 guest rooms and renamed itself the Golf Resort. And I'll put up a picture of the sign, and when you see it, the sign is just beautiful. It is Chef's Kiss. It is lowercase Helvetica font. It is so soothing to look at.
Okay.
For all you font geeks out there. They also added a new dining area that was called the Trophy Room, and it had enough seating for 186 guests. Now, this one became a huge favorite of the Disney executives because that, along with the rest of the resort, was kind of more low-key. It wasn't on the monorail loop. You kind of had to go out of your way to, one, know about it, and two, stay there, because it didn't have the same conveniences of being able to, tread right to the Magic Kingdom as, say, the Polynesian and the Contemporary, which meant it was quieter, which meant it attracted more golfers, and it meant it attracted a higher clientele, and it was quieter for the executives to have a meeting at the Trophy Room. They wouldn't be as recognized, they wouldn't be as bothered, so that was perfect for them.
Yeah, big perk.
But another crazy thing, and Kev, you've taken your son to character dining, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So as quiet as they wanted the Trophy Room to be, that was the first place on property to feature character dining. It started in April 1981.
That just doesn't sound like the right clientele for character dining.
Like, you have a bunch of golfers, sometimes their family maybe, and yeah, character dining right there in the Trophy Room, and now you can't, look at a restaurant in Disney World without there being character dining there. It's kind of crazy how that evolved.
Yeah, that is an interesting fact, because chances are if you're taking a golf trip, the Disney characters probably aren't number one on your priorities.
Right. I mean, I don't know, send your kids off to the Magic Kingdom, go for lunch, and be like, hey, kids, I got my picture with Mickey. What did you do? I stood in line for 3 hours to get my picture taken with Mickey.
Correct. Yeah, I got my picture and I played golf.
That was kind of the point of it, too. Send the kids over and you guys play golf. The pro shop there, too, it was kind of bonkers. They had, of course, everything, all the usual stuff, club repair, club fittings, anything you needed in a regular pro shop. But they were one of the first groups to have a golf simulator. It's crazy. Golf simulators are everywhere. You can have them in your home. Previous podcasts we talked about them on TGL. There's a bar down the street where I could play simulator golf and have drinks. But the golf resort featured one of the first, and here's how it worked. You'd hit a ball into the screen. Computer looked at it. It would calculate where the ball landed, how far it went, and I mean, it's the 70s and 80s. There's only so much data they could give you, but it was more intended as a teaching tool than kind of a a fun tool. So what they would do is they would videotape your swing. The pros at the club shop would then analyze it. Then they'd give you an audio cassette to take home because back then you probably didn't have a VCR in your home, and that gave you some pointers on how to improve your swing. So yeah, that's crazy. One of the first golf simulators at Disney World.
That's awesome. It brings back a little bit of nostalgia for me, like 20 years ago when I was first getting lessons. And I would actually have VHS tapes. The old school dad camcorder would be on a tripod behind me. Mm-hmm. They would videotape my swing, and then right on the glass of the TV, he would bring out a ruler. And I remember a red, VisiView marker. They weren't called dry erase back there. It was like the overhead marker, and he would draw on the TV and erase it. So like the same technology you're talking about is what I was using. That's awesome.
Oh, it's crazy. And it may not seem like it now, but Disney actually used to be at like the forefront of technology. And our friends over at Retro WDW, they do an awesome series of Disney history. So if you want to learn about how Disney like did technology and was kind of, I would compare them honestly, innovation wise, to maybe like an Apple of the day, or, one of those high innovative tech companies nowadays back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and even a little bit up to the 80s. The reason I bring up them being at the forefront of tech, too, was the Goff Resort was the first resort ever to feature complete computer integration. So that means not only did they register guests via computer, because the other two resorts had that, but at the Goff Resort, housekeeping was also able to communicate to the front desk via computer when rooms were ready to get those guests into the room faster. So now it's all done. I mean, you get a notification on your phone. You're like, all right, cool. Go right to my room. You don't even have to check in at the front desk. But this was just like back then.
Yeah, that's so cool. I love that they're taking the theme park aspect of being technologically advanced and putting it into like a golf resort. That's really cool.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Not all things last, of course. I mentioned the sign earlier. That was just love it. But in 1986, the resort became responsible for an even cooler sign, and one of what I think is one of the coolest signs Walt Disney World ever had in it. And the resort was renamed the Disney Inn.
Okay.
And the Disney Inn saw the addition of 150 more guest rooms. And this was an appeal to attract families rather than just golfers. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't officially Snow White themed, but with the color schemes, with Sleepy being on the sign, and some of the architecture in there, it was more or less themed to Snow White in an effort to attract more families.
Interesting. Okay, cool.
Yeah. And as far as I'm aware, I never stayed there. If I had stayed there, I would have been incredibly young, not remembering it. But yeah, so it was the Disney World, Disney Inn, and that stayed like that until 1994, when the Department of Defense decided they wanted to find a place where their veterans can go, where their active military can go and take a break. And they were looking all around the country for it, and they decided, hey, why not do this at Disney World? So yeah, they leased the resort and the land from the Walt Disney Company for 100 years. Mm-hmm. They renamed the resort Shades of Green, which is what it's named today, and that's, of course, a nod to the different greens found in each military uniform. And when it first started, the resort proved so successful that the Department of Defense just outright bought it in 96, with Disney still owning the land it's on. And now the resort's got a 586 guest room and is pretty much always at capacity. I looked at some of the eligibility criteria. Basically, if there's like a mile-long list of eligibility criteria, eligible active or former members of our armed forces. They have all that information on the Shades of Green website at www.shadesofgreen.com. So if you're active or former armed forces, take a look and see if you can stay there. From what I understand, it's a lot more affordable to stay there, and I couldn't confirm if this was still true, but at some point they basically charge you a hotel room based on your rank. So, higher ranking people paid more, lower ranking people paid less.
Nice.
As time wore on, of course, we all knew about the recessions in 2008, and eventually golf kind of, I don't want to say falling out of favor, but there being a lot more competition for golf in Central Florida. The courses did start to go through some financial difficulties. The final tournament was held there in 2012, but rather than getting rid of all the courses altogether, 2013, a familiar name comes in to save the day and preserve golf at Walt Disney World. On September 25th, 2011, Arnold Palmer, or 2013, good Lord, on September 25th, 2013, Arnold Palmer Golf Management took over the day-to-day management of the Palm, Magnolia, and Lake Buena Vista courses and Oak Trails. And they have a strategic 20-year alliance, so that's going to be coming up in 6 years from now. Right? 2031, 60, yeah. And they're the ones who spearheaded the redesign of the Palm course. They spearheaded the redesign of the Magnolia course that we're going to talk a little bit about today. They've put in multiple enhancements. They, prettied up the Oak Trail course. They made a great putting green, and the putting green was already great, but they made it much better, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But yeah, that's it. That's kind of a really brief, quick, and dirty history on golf at the Walt Disney World Resort. So, yeah, what do you think?
I love it. I love that there was more to it than just golf and like Disney. Like when I think Disney, you think of the characters, you think of awesome theme parks, but you don't think of like a military background to it with the hotel now, or all these different advances that maybe didn't really impact the theme park goers, but could have had a bigger impact, on the resort indirectly. So I love that this was a springboard for a lot of different things.
It's really historic, just with the pioneering the golf simulator technology. And if you look at, and you mentioned the ties with the military, again, I'll shout out Retro WDW as well. They've done great things on how a lot of former military members helped design just like the water drainage systems at Disney World and some other aspects of it. So the Disney company has had a long tie with the military, going back to the very beginning, of course. So it's a great partnership that they have with Shades of Green there. I think it's a great opportunity to give our servicemen and women and their families just kind of a break and not have to break their wallets by saying, hey, you got to spend $800 a night staying at the Contemporary. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's like,
nice.
It's just weird though that everybody is staying there. I mean, I wonder how many of them know the history of that resort and how it was the original clubhouse and how, Jack Nicklaus walked in there after he won his first 3 tournaments the first 3 Disney World tournaments.
Yeah. I doubt many do or would appreciate that. I mean, that's cool.
Yeah.
To follow in some footsteps like that.
But speaking of tournaments, of course, we have to talk about the tournament life there.
Sure. So we'll start in 1971 when the tournament was founded. It was originally known as the Walt Disney World Open Invitational.
Yeah, and I found a pretty cool quote about basically talking about how the tour even got off the ground. It's off the Golf WDW website, and I'm just kind of reading this from there. In September 1971, with just a few weeks remaining before the opening of the Walt Disney World Resort, Director of Marketing Sandy Quinn was asked to head up a PGA golf tournament at the Walt Disney World Golf Course. So, literally right before the opening of the resort, a month. Quinn had no experience in setting up an event like this, but he knew who Arnold Palmer was, and Arnold Palmer just so happened to move down the road to Bay Hill not too much earlier. So he got Bay Hill in 1971 as well. And Quinn said, I sent someone over to see if Arnold would come by and at least talk to us about it. Well, he came over and we're starting to talk, and then all of a sudden he looks off in the distance, curious about something. I walk over and see he's watching the train engineers put the new cars on the monorail. So, what a surprise. Arnold Palmer was a monorail geek just like the rest of us. Right away, Arnold gets interested and wants to know if he can take a ride. Well, as luck would have it, the engineers were running a full-scale test on the whole system that day, and they were delighted to have Arnie as their first passenger. So Arnold Palmer was the first member of the general public that was not affiliated with the Walt Disney World Resort, didn't work for them. He was the first person to ride the monorail at Walt Disney World. And then he goes on to say, we all said a small prayer hoping the thing wouldn't break down while he was on it. And when he was through, we started talking a little bit about the golf tournament. No problem, Arnold says. Sign me up. I'll call a few friends. And that was it. In no time at all, we had a full-fledged PGA golf tournament. See, I thought that was a pretty cool story about Arnold being the first one to ride the monorail.
No, that's really cool.
Yeah.
How far in line do you think he was for Space Mountain?
I'm going to say that he did not go on that because it was 1975 when that opened, and he was a little busy in 75.
Okay.
Just a bit.
That's fair. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So in 1975, actually, from 1974 to 1981, the tournament was actually played as a two-man better ball format. Some very notable players played in there, such as Sam Snead, who never actually won it, but he did come in second in 1974. Ben Crenshaw won a duos with George Burns in 1979.
Not the actor. The golfer.
Not the actor. I love this two-man event
Yeah.
because it's such a different way of marketing this tournament.
I love when they do kind of like off-kilter events during the season. I was a huge fan of the skins game back in the day. I thought that was the coolest thing.
Oh, yeah. I love the alternate formats like that.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think the lowest team score was in this better ball format?
I mean, I'm cheating and I'm looking at the Wikipedia article right now, but
Okay.
I was thinking it would be along the lines of what people claim their 18-hole scores in scrambles today. So we're looking at like 30 under. But yeah, it ended up being 42 under. Vance Hefner and Mike Holland, 1981.
Yeah, no, exactly. So 42 under is, what one foursome shoots nowadays in a scramble.
Right.
For one round. But yeah, for 4 rounds, they shot 42 under, which is pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Grand prize in 1981, $36,000 each for shooting 42 under.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. I mean, just thinking about that money compared to what they get today, a whole different ball game back then.
I mean, you get 36,000 just for showing up nowadays.
If you're lucky,
Yeah.
you might even have to take a swing. The Disney events were originally televised on ESPN and ABC Sports, so it kind of came off as a marketing plan for Disney and ESPN, who owned them, obviously. But in the modern years, or the end of the life cycle of this tournament, it ended up being the final event from 2007 to 2012, which led to some really interesting events with players either retaining or even earning their tour cards at the very last event of the season. Notably in 2010, when Robert Garrigus, and also in 2012, when Charlie Beljan, they were outside the top 125 players for the year. They won the tournament and earned their tour cards on the very last day.
Clutch. Coming in clutch.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine. The tournament, under different title sponsors such as Oldsmobile, National Car Rental, and most recently the Children's Miracle Network, has had a very high profile of notable winners. Mm-hmm. So back in the very founding of the tournament, 1971 to 1973, Jack Nicklaus three-peated. We had Payne Stewart winning in 1983, Raymond Floyd in 86, Mark O'Meara in 1991, and then a 20-year-old Tiger Woods would go and outgun Payne Stewart for his second ever win in 1996. Tiger would go on and win again in 1999 as well. And then we had David Duval, 97. Vijay Singh won it in 2003. Davis Love in 2008. And even Luke Donald in 2011.
Yeah, that's some big names winning a tournament down in Walt Disney World there. I mean, you got Payne Stewart. You got Jack, of course, winning the first three. Mark O'Meara. Noted sprinkler head destroyer, Davis Love III. I mean, you got some names there.
Two episodes
VJ.
in a row, by the way.
2 episodes in a row shouting them out. VJ, Ryan Palmer. I mean, funny enough, Arnold never won it. And he's the guy who kind of helped design the tournament, which is crazy to me. But I found something really cool about Tiger's winning. He finished on the final round at the Magnolia Course. He finished 666 to post a 21 under 267. And as you mentioned, he beat Payne Stewart by a stroke that year. Stewart wound up inviting Tiger to dinner that night just to kind of go over things. I guess they got all buddy after that. Tiger won $216,000 that year, which put him at earnings of $734,000, 794. And he also rose to 23rd in earnings, which got him on the Tour Championship, which at that point was reserved for the top 30 players. His world ranking wound up being 35th. So he moved up to 35th place after that tournament too. And he was also the first player since Curtis Strange did it in 1982 to post 5 straight top 5 finishes. And Strange was in his 6th year on tour when he made that. When he did that, that was Tiger's rookie year.
Jeez, that's crazy. Yeah, and I mean,
Right?
just in June the next year, I believe he was the world number one.
It's insane. It's absolutely insane. I got a couple other cool facts for you. Of course, Jack Nicklaus holds the most with 3 wins in it. The lowest 18-hole score ever recorded in the Disney Classic. Just take a wild guess, and who do you think it was? I'll tell you it happened in 2006.
In 2006. Man, I'm not even going to guess, but I'm going to say that they shot a 60.
They shot, drumroll please, a 60.
Hey!
Lowest 18-hole score ever was a 60 by Justin Rose in 2006.
Oh, Justin Rose. Nice.
Yep. 1975, Sam Snead, age 63, partnered with his nephew, J.C. Snead, to a 7th place finish. In doing so, Snead set a record that still stands, the oldest golfer to reach a top 10 finish on the PGA Tour. 63 years old, the legend. That comes from golfcompendium.com.
Okay.
So yeah, lots of crazy stuff happening there. You know, of course, they played on all 3 courses, Palm, Magnolia, and Lake Buena Vista, so they got around. They also used the Eagle Pines course in later years as well. So they got around the property, which is good. I like when they have the ability at a tournament to be able to play multiple courses in that one tournament. It kind of keeps everybody on their toes. I like that.
It does. It does. It also keeps them on their toes, kind of throws them in a loop too, because you don't really get accustomed to one course. Yeah, it was known that the Lake Buena Vista golf course for this tournament tended to be the easier of the course.
Yes.
One of the highlight packages, I believe, from 1996 that I happened to watch, the guy referred to it as the Lake Birdie Vista golf course.
Yeah, and I agree with that. Having played all 3 of them, Lake Buena Vista is definitely the most friendly, most easy one of it. Traditionally, Palm is the second, Magnolia being the hardest because it's the longest course, but Magnolia, for some reason, suits my eye. So for me, the Palm just gives me fits. Like I would shoot better on Magnolia than Palm, but I get where Palm can be the more difficult course. But yeah, Lake Buena Vista, really simple. Last time I played it, I was something like 3 over on the front 9 before it just started downpouring rain. And my protege Micah was keeping up with me, like she was doing really well too. So it's not a difficult course, but it's fun. It's definitely one you're going to want to take the kids to. Palm and Magnolia may be a little bit out of the reach of the experience of maybe a beginner golfer, but yeah, LBV is the place to go. It's also really cool because it starts obviously at the resort over there, the Saratoga Springs Resort, and it goes throughout the Saratoga Springs property and the Old Key West properties. So it's really unique in that it goes through 2 different resorts, and it follows right along the waterway too. So you'll see the boats coming over from Disney Springs. Like on the first tee box, you can look over and see Disney Springs. It's really neat.
Neat. That is very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. If you couldn't guess, by the way, the Magnolia, Palm, and even the Oak Trail courses are named after the trees that are found on these golf courses.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it said the Magnolia course specifically has like 1,500 of them on this course.
Yeah, I had a couple notes on that too. Originally it was all flat swampland over there, right? So Joe Lee didn't have too much to work with, and so he added some water. He redirected some water, which is nothing new to Walt Disney World. I mean, most of the water there is kind of redirected by man. Most famously, that Seven Seas Laguna was completely dig out, and according to legend, at the bottom of the Seven Seas Lagoon, there's still some cars down there that got stuck in the mud and couldn't be taken out. I don't know how true that is. That's just according to legend. But what was really cool was that it attracted a lot of wildlife, and the courses are an Audubon certified cooperative wildlife sanctuary. So throwback, call back to earlier in the episode to our friends at Audubon. But yeah, he added, I wrote down hundreds of magnolia trees to the property, but I believe the number was somewhere up around, you mentioned like 1,500. Like it was a lot of magnolia trees he added.
Nice. Yeah. Definitely a prominent feature as you look at some of these pictures and go around the course.
what was also really cool is that for a long time they had the iconic mousetrap bunker, and I should have looked this up, but I want to say in like 2016 they added it to the other courses. So now all the courses, Palm and Oak Trail, they all have that Mickey shaped bunker. But that was really cool, and that was, I don't know if you remember from ever watching the broadcast, but that was like the one thing they would always zoom in on, and you would have the flyby, and it would be that bunker, and they would always show the Mickey Mouse golf cart too.
Yeah, yeah. So that the Mickey Mouse bunker sits on hole 6, which is a par 3 that you hit over water, and it's right on the front of like the face of the. I don't want to call it a pond. It's more of like a creek that goes in front of it. But yeah, it's very iconic right there on hole number 6 of the Magnolia Course.
Yeah, hashtag humble brag. Last time I played that, I birdied that hole. So, whoop, go me.
From the bunker?
You know what? Let's not talk about that part.
Okay.
Although, you know what? If I birdied it from the bunker, that's still an up and down, so I can't complain.
It's an up and in, my man.
Yeah, up and in. So that's I would take that too. But no, I legit birdied it. Shocked if anything.
Nice. There you go.
But yeah, as we mentioned earlier, it was designed by a gentleman named Joe Lee, and a couple facts on him: he either designed or redesigned over 250 golf courses worldwide. But he's most associated with the explosion of golf in Florida. And he's been considered one of the most prolific course architects you've never heard of. Jack Nicklaus said that Joe Lee has never built. He said that Joe Lee has never built a bad course. You think with such a short quote, I would get it right. He's been compared to Robert Trent Jones Sr., and he was a big fan of heavily protecting courses with bunkers. But what's really cool, and what I think works out for Disney World and this kind of family-friendly approach, is that he was really straightforward and had attainable designs. He himself said, "I don't think there should be any tricks on a golf course. Golfers want a challenge, but they want a fair one." So I agree to that, and it makes his courses very accessible, which is why the Disney courses work so well. But Kev, you did a bit more of a dive into the architecture, since that is your thing. So what'd you come up with?
You talk about Joe Lee and his kind of straightforward approach. You'll notice that there are a bunch of bunkers, lining fairways, greens literally surrounded by 6 or 7 bunkers just in a circle around the green. So it was very much what you get is kind of what you see. And you'll see that on most of the holes, 1 through 13 and then hole 18. Present day, you will kind of see a little bit of a difference on 14, 15, 16, and 17. Just recently, Ken Baker was asked to do a little bit of a redesign, or in the Disney spirit, he reimagined the Magnolia Golf Course. Ken Baker comes in with 30 years of experience in golf design, mostly over in Asia. He has 20 years of experience designing golf courses over there. He's currently the head of golf course design for One Club Limited. They've got offices in Colorado as well as Hong Kong. Ken Baker is known for a truly unique, fun, and fair test of golf. It's kind of been his trademark, but it also gives the better golfers more of a strategic test as well. But he adds a little bit of more of a modern twist to it. Before working with One Club Limited, he was a senior design associate with Nicklaus Designs. There's a great picture of him touring a golf course that was under construction, and Jack Nicklaus is in the cart and he's standing behind him. It's pretty cool. He had numerous projects throughout the Asian regions in design and development. Some of his most recent work stateside, there's Verado Golf Course out in Arizona, as well as the club at Prescott Lakes. Most of those golf course redesigns started with redoing the bunkers. Over time, the bunker face will wear down, the sand will kind of get displaced, and just the shaping in general of the bunker turns away. So one of his big things is redoing these bunkers, adding shaping to them and mounding around them, and just giving them crisp lines throughout. If you look at the old golf tournaments that were played on the Magnolia Course, you'll see just like a very shallow bunker. They're still in typical horseshoey shapes, but they're not really well defined. It kind of just looks like sand was placed on top of the ground. So part of the bunker redesigns that Ken Baker is bringing in is making them a little bit deeper. It gives a little bit of visibility and playability for golfers of all levels. So that's where he starts with a bunch of them. And that's where he started with the redesign of the Magnolia Course. All 18 greens got redone, and every bunker was redone as well. Or excuse me, reimagined, excuse me. So all 18 greens were redone, and every bunker on the course was reimagined in this new facelift for the Magnolia Course. But that will bring us into the new 14, 15, and 16, and 17. So 14 through 17 is now known as Grumpy's Gauntlet.
That's a cool name. Like it fits the Disney thing, and if you score badly, you're going to get grumpy at it. So I think that's a really creative name.
You're gonna get grumpy. It definitely goes into it. You've given a lot of experiences of you being down there. I remember going to Disney World as a kid with my dad having a conference or something at one of the hotels down there. And I actually bought and brought back a grumpy head cover for my driver because it was the most fitting thing to put onto my golf bag to make me know like how I felt hitting that club.
It's amazing.
It was literally the reasoning behind it. So it's hilarious that this has come full circle now.
If you got a grumpy head driver or head cover for your driver, if you had a mini driver, would you put Dopey as your head cover for that?
Dopey? No, I wouldn't.
You're a fan of the mini drivers? Because I'm jury's still out.
I don't know. I haven't hit one, to be honest with you, but I like the concept of it.
I don't know. Anyway, we're not here for that.
Anyway, so yeah, let's quickly talk about Grumpy's Gauntlet.
Yes, I'm so excited.
Are you? Okay, great.
Oh yeah.
So what Disney wanted was something similar to the Bear Trap at PGA National or the Snake Pit at Innisbrook. They created this 14th, 15th, 16th, and 17th new set of holes, and this is a complete redesign by Ken Baker. And he's added a couple of those new modern elements. So instead of just placing bunkers everywhere, he's used waste bunkers scattered. Not really in play for the most part. They're in play on a couple holes. But just, to add to the visual, he still has some of that water. A lot of these holes, and you would attest to this, a lot of the Florida resorts just feel like there's water there for no reason.
Yes, that's pretty much every one of them.
Yeah, pretty much every one.
Yeah, with the Florida resort, there is, and we've talked about this, well before for many years about how there's just lazy design, and there's just like, oh, there's water here. Okay, well, we'll just make it so you have to carry, 3 bunkers, a wasteland, and 400 yards of water on the left-hand side, and just straight death on the other 400 yards. Like a lot of lazy design in Florida golf courses.
Yeah, and you'll kind of see some of this, like we can start on 14. 14 used to be a almost 600-yard par 5 from the tips for the tournament tees especially. It was a dogleg right, and it was about a 270-yard carry, maybe 280, to go over a set of fairway bunkers to cut the corner. And then, so if you're hitting a 300 back then, you're still having almost 300 yards in, except that full 300 yards was a carry over water that also bordered the left side of the layup area.
Yeah, it was a rough hole. It was really, really rough.
Yeah, it was pretty much a solid 3-shot par 5 for everyone, except Tiger Woods, who actually, I believe he put it over, might have been this green in 1996. Again, I just got these highlights. They're amazing. So that is standing out in my head right now. So yeah, you had water left and you had water short of the green on an already 600-yard par 5. Made it really tough for scoring. Now, hole 14 is going to be a 500-yard par 4 that also doglegs to the right. You got about a 300-yard carry to cut off the dogleg. But this time, instead of a series of bunkers, Ken Baker added a pot bunker right on the corner. Where do you stand on a pot bunker? Especially on, it's not a fairway, it is off the fairway. Where do you stand on a pot bunker in the fairway over 200 yards away on a par 4?
I'm of the opinion where if it's like once on a course, that's okay. Like if you have a couple bunkers just in general in your landing area, it's okay if it makes sense on the hole. I don't like bunkers being placed in landing areas just for the sake of, hey, let's put a bunker there and narrow this fairway and make it just difficult for no reason.
No, I hear you. So instead of throwing all of those bunkers into the course, this is the only bunker that comes up short of the green. It's the only punishing aspect of missing the fairway, except for the trees that might line the fairway a little bit.
And as somebody who misses fairways, I'm fine with that. I may actually be able to score on 14.
So if you do get past that pot bunker, you're going to be left with a long, long approach shot into the par 4 to a long and narrow green that is flanked by 2 sand traps on each side of the green. The yardage book gives a quote for each of these holes. So this one comes from Walt Disney. He reminds us that everyone falls down. Getting back up is how you learn to walk. It says to score yourself a par here and count your blessings. You've just survived stage 1 of Grumpy's Gauntlet.
I will also say that this is, because they named all the holes too differently. And out of the entirety of, I want to say even the whole course, this may be my favorite named hole. It's called the Backside of Water. And I am a massive fan of the Jungle Cruise ride, and I always love it when they shout out, the 8th wonder of the world, the Backside of Water! So I love it. I love the name for it. And yeah, you're going to see the backside of water on this hole if you're not careful.
Yes, and to be even more literal, if you go kind of behind the green and to the left, there is water there. I believe this is the same fountain that used to be in front of the green. It is now off to the left side of the green on 14.
Okay. That fountain's cool, too.
Yeah. It's one of those big umbrella-ing looking fountains.
Yeah.
But yeah. So one thing I noticed, and we'll start here on 14, is that the old green sizes for the course used to be around 30, maybe a little bit 35 yards long or in width, depending on which way it was facing. So I noticed this one is 43 yards long. So a significant upgrade in the space of the green, despite really not much yardage. So kind of a fair write-off is that you get a bigger landing area. However, the undulations of these new greens are a little more severe. So that will take us to hole 15. Hole 15 used to just be a straightforward 200-yard par 3. A little bit of a false front in the front of the green with 2 bunkers on either side of it. So if you came up short, it would roll back down into the fairway a little bit. Nothing much to it. Just a straight par 3, 2 bunkers. That's it. Nowadays, hole 15, known as the Dingle Hopper, is a 597-yard par 5. It's another dogleg right, but not really much room to cut off. It's just a straight-ahead tee shot, and that's where you're going to find first of these waste bunkers that Ken Baker has put onto the golf course. It's out there probably about 250 to 300 off the tee. Not really in play, but a good second shot reminder of what could come.
Do you think it's possible for like the bigger hitters to carry that waste bunker on the right side?
I don't think so. It's looking like it's about 320 to reach it.
Okay.
From the tips. So tournament play, it's about 320 to get there. And according to the yardage book, it looks like 310 gives you about 250 in, and about 200s on the other side of this waste bunker. So I'm assuming you're talking 350 to 360 carry.
Okay, and
to get
and if you're saying it's
bunker.
320 to it, 20 different. Okay, so it's still a good 300 for us. Yeah, so not in play. So it really is like any way you look at it, it's going to be 3 shots.
Yeah, definitely. So where Joe Lee would have multiple bunkers, lining the fairway to the right, or maybe a bundle of them in front of the green, Ken Baker's changed that to these waste areas. He's got one about in the approach area for a layup, and then there's one just short of the green as well that kind of runs into the next hole as well. It's a really cool aspect that I've liked recently of a lot of these modern courses is this waste area that most of the time they're not in play completely, or they might cross the fairway. I just visually love the look of these waste bunkers.
Yeah, there's a couple courses in Florida that have some like really nice waste bunkers that again aren't in play, but if you hit into them, it's not the end of the world. But they look good on the course.
Yeah, it's a different sight line. Especially a course like Magnolia, if you're not having these ponds and big bodies of water. Like, it was just a flat green canvas for the most part, with the occasional, circle patch of sand. So this gives an extra bit of color. The design of it is meant to catch your eye and kind of distract you from where you want to go, more so than actually being a penalized area on the golf course.
I will say too, with this hole, I think there was a huge missed opportunity. I mean, they call it the dingle hopper. There should be multiple paths there, just like prongs on a fork. Prongs on a dingle hopper, I should say. There should be multiple paths you can take. So, huge missed opportunity. But I mean, this hole looks really fun to play. The waste bunker right there, a true 3-shot par 5. There's no debating if maybe I can get there in 2. Like, it looks challenging, but as with everything, challenging but fair. It's the 12 handicap on the course, so it's not. You just came off the 4 and you go to the 12, so that's kind of fair. You have a hard hole, then a not so tough hole to kind of breathe. This hole looks like it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I love it. It kind of S-curves around the different sand elements. It gives a pretty generous layup to about 100 yards. If you do want to take it on, fairway narrows closer to the green. So it does give you that risk reward.
We all love a true risk reward hole.
A true risk reward. They call it the dingle hopper because you will need all of the tools that you can get your hands on. So not only do you need a dingle hopper, you might need a who's it's or what's it's galore.
And if all else fails, just light up that Bangled Bobbin Snarf Flat and vibe.
And vibe, yes. So the yardage book will leave you with this quote from Arnold Palmer for hole 15 dingle hopper. It's a funny thing. The more I practice, the luckier I get. Huh. The yardage book says, we believe he'd agree that you'll need a double dose of luck on this hole.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like you need 2 good shots.
Yeah,
you can get away with your drive, maybe, but just kind of how narrow it looks, you need a good second shot. So I'll agree. You need 2 good bits of luck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, again, looks like a very, very nicely designed hole. So we'll move over to 16 now. Previously, 16 was a 450-yard par 4. That was pretty straightforward. It had water around the green that really wasn't in play. It was kind of out there, kind of gave you an islandy vibe, but really wasn't in play. So he reimagined hole 16, still about 450 yards. But this one has a dogleg left, and it's a full carry depending on how much you want to take off down the whole left side. There's a generous landing area, pretty wide fairway, but he sunk bunkers into the fairway, not along the rough, into the fairway. I believe you can go around. Again, generous.
They look like they're like line of sight to the tee box, though.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. You also hit over that continued waste area too. So off the tee, your visuals are immediately waste area, water, more water, fairway. And if you don't want to take the fairway all the way down the water line, you're going to have more sand off to the right. So this is going to be a visually intimidating tee shot, although it has probably the most generous landing area of any of these new redesigns.
Or you can just Bryson it and cut off the entire bit of water. It kind of almost reminds me of that, in a way.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like it has that potential of just going straight over it.
Yeah.
Just remember 2 hands above your head, and yes, as you launch that ball.
Yep.
So then I mentioned the bigger greens. Again, this was about a 30-yard green prior to the remodel. Now, hole 16 has a multi-tier 50-yard long green.
Oh, good Lord.
Absolutely massive. So this hole theoretically could play anywhere from about 400 to almost 500 yards from the tips, depending on where the pin position is.
So you got a whole runway if you try to Bryson it then.
Yeah. Well, the green kind of runs sideways across from the tee. So it's a more horizontal green, but it runs long that way. So all these visual aspects off the tee and this massively long multi-tier green leave hole 16 with the name of an element of fun.
Yeah, I like that name for it because it does look like it's another fun hole. Different ways to play it. It's, as you said, it's visually intimidating, so it's going to kind of throw you for a loop getting up there, and another one where you kind of have to place your shot. It'll be interesting to see the contours of the fairways too, how they did them. If they're still kind of flat, if they're kind of, especially around the bunkers, to maybe even draw the ball into the bunker to see if that's kind of set up like that over there.
Yeah, I'd be interested. That was one thing that I noticed with the old course, that it just seemed like one of those pretty flat courses.
Yeah.
Like most of these Florida swamp courses ended up being, with little bits of mounding here and there. But for the most part, it was a fairly flat track.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it's the same thing because it's really tough to do any sort of grading in Florida. So I mean, we're not going to see. I think in Florida. I played one course where it had, I guess, mountains, if you will, and that was in Claremont, where they have a lot of pretty dramatic hills. But yeah, that's swampland. I mean, you build into it what you can, but it'll be interesting. It looks like a cool hole. Again, I prefer the kind of, I guess I'll call it more like the lazy curve where the entire hole is curved rather than just a straight dog leg. I like those better.
No, I know what you mean. This is a hole that really catches my eye. To me, I feel like adding a lake or a pond could be a crutch for some of these golf courses. Like, oh, this makes it a cool hole. But giving you the option to take it out of play, to bring it back in on your next shot, if you do choose to, play it a little bit safe, I think this is really well executed. Walt Disney prided himself on "it's kind of fun to do the impossible." The yardage book says he might as well have been talking about sinking a putt for par on 16.
Well, as we all know, Walt Disney himself was an avid golfer. He played 3 rounds a day, getting out there. He was a -3 handicap.
And often made putts for par on 16.
No, not really.
That's what they say.
Fun fact, though, he was an avid. Yeah, he was an avid polo player, though. He actually injured his back playing polo, and that caused him problems his entire life. But I don't remember seeing any stories about him ever picking up a golf club or trying golf. And I'd imagine if he injured his back playing polo, he's not out there golfing. But hey, if you have any stories about Walt Disney himself playing some golf, put it in the comment section. I'd love to hear it. See what I did there?
Yeah, I see. Nice. So an element of fun, a spoonful of sugar for Mary Poppins. And that brings us to 17. It used to be a long 483-yard par 4. It was a dogleg left, with water left off the tee and right of the green. There was a long and narrow green that was flanked by 2 bunkers on either side. The yardage was a big thing for some of these holes to make them harder. So you'll see, even back then, 480-yard par 4 was quite a poke. Now 17, if this had the Mickey Mouse bunker in front, I think this would be the signature hole on the course. But it is now a stunning 230-yard par 3 from the tips with a pond short and right of the green. It makes it look like it is right on the back edge of this green. There's a bailout left. There's a waste bunker left. And if you're playing the back, you actually hit over 2 ponds because the cart path kind of meanders between these 2 ponds. Absolutely stunning hole.
Oh, yeah.
This green is 37 yards long. It's got a really funky, squiggly shape to it. And according to the website, this is the most subtle and severe undulations on any green on the entire course.
Yeah, to me, it's a beautiful hole. I mean, it looks like it could be a signature hole on anywhere else, any other golf course in the world. I mean, it's nice. You got the water there, which is always a great element on a final par 3. It's going to be something special. A very long green, as you mentioned, and I can't wait to put a couple balls into the water on this one.
I know you mentioned that the backside of water was one of your favorite hole names. This one resonates very well with me, being a big soccer player as a kid, as well as golf. Soccer was a close 1B for me. This one is called the Big Green. The Big Green is a kind of goofy little film about a soccer team that, I'm trying to think how to put it politely, just probably shouldn't have been a very good soccer team. It was one of those cheesy Disney movies back then.
Mm-hmm. That 90s?
But it was one that I remember. Yeah, I mean, I remember having the VHS above, the projection TV back then.
Oh, Mr. Projection TV.
Yeah, well, the big old tube TVs, excuse me. The yardage book leaves you with another Arnold Palmer quote here. He says, "What other people may find in poetry, I find in the flight of a good drive." While I like the quote, I would like to point out this is a par 3. This should be the good flight of a good iron shot.
Yeah. I see where they're going with it, though.
I might be picky here. I like it. But yes, you will probably need your best iron shot on the 17th hole here to close out your round, because of how well protected it is.
Yeah, and 180 from the whites too. I mean, that's 5-6 iron territory for me. Even with a big old green, it's hard for me to hold with a 5 or 6. But it looks really cool. Like I'm kind of really like surprised by this whole remake, like the whole reimagining and the Grumpy's Gauntlet thing, because I am really, really excited. And that's not just me saying, oh, we're doing a review, got to hype it up. I am like legit excited for this stretch of 4 holes. It looks gorgeous. I mean, I've always, of course, obviously loved the Magnolia Course, but this looks to be just an awesome stamp on the finale of it. And I'm also glad that they didn't touch 18 and kind of left it as a great finishing hole coming back to the clubhouse.
Yes, yeah. I think they picked a good portion of the land that they had to use.
Oh, absolutely.
What's kind of interesting about this gauntlet is 14, 15, and 16 are kind of all connected a good bit away from 17, actually.
Yeah.
So they actually put a new cart bridge that runs through what they consider a forest to connect holes 16 and 17. So you're taking a good drive back towards the clubhouse to come finish up the round on 17 here.
Yeah, and that's going to be a really cool drive going through the swampland and seeing all the critters and the wildlife and all the gators and everything you kind of see hanging out back there. So I'm excited. I mean, I'm really hoping to get down there this summer. I know you are too, and hoping to get around in on it. But we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, that's the big remake of Grumpy's Gauntlet, and just the overall modernizing of the golf course with fixing up the greens and the bunkers, as well as the tee boxes too. I feel like any golf course that just, it's just like a quick coat of paint, in a room in your house. If you can fix up those bunkers, it's just instantly more stunning of a golf course, as well as greens. I feel like when I play a round of golf, if the greens are fantastic, like I will instantly like that golf course.
Oh, absolutely. Like nothing ruins the course for me faster than just playing on poor greens. And I'm not talking greens that have been punched. I'm just like lazy greens that are all just completely flat. There's nothing interesting to them. Like I want a good green.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest one of the bigger differences coming up now, as opposed to when these courses were made in like the 70s, is that the shaping and the mounding, adding moguls here and there, just little things like that really improve the visuals of a golf course and make them interesting. So it sounds like that's what McNeilley was really looking for, just a facelift, and then bringing in this whole Grumpy's Gauntlet was a pretty cool idea as well.
Yeah, they absolutely plus the course. From my memories of playing there, like it was great to begin with. It was one of my favorite courses to play down there as it was, and this is just going to take it to that next level, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Also next level too, Ken Baker has made what they're calling the greatest green ever played.
Yes.
Which is a huge 18-hole putting green with its own scorecard, pin locations that can change daily. It's cool. They have little like tee markers almost, with like the number above it, and it's like a cup holder too. It's really cool how it's done. It's similar to like the Himalayas over at St. Andrews. It's something now, if I look at like a golf resort, like one of the things I look for is like either a par 3 course or like some kind of putting green that you can just hang out after a round or on an off day. So that's actually available, I believe. If you just want to show up, you can go to this putting green.
Oh yeah,
as long as you have a putter and a ball.
Yeah, I've talked to fathers who brought their sons over, and the wife and the daughter was off at the parks doing going to Bippity Boppity Boutique, say, and getting made over, and they would just come over and putt around the putting green. It was always really cool just to play there. That unique set of 18 different holes you can play to, and the tee markers and everything. The name, of course, is a play on the Walt Disney Pictures film, The Greatest Game Ever Played. That's based on the early life of amateur golf champion Francis Ouimet. And I probably butchered that name, but you know who I'm talking about. And his surprise victory at the 1913 U.S. Open. So, like most other things at Disney World, it's themed to a story, which is really cool. That I've never really seen a putting green that kind of told a story.
Correct. Yeah, it's a cool spin.
Some other cool quotes we saw, Sergio Garcia and Gary Woodland, they were able to get a sneak peek at it, and they said it'll be amazing. The 15th becoming a big par 5, 16 is a long par 4, and they brought in water perfectly, said Woodland. You're going to have 4 closing holes down the stretch that'll test every aspect of your game. It'll be a great finish here at Magnolia. Our boy Sergio added that it's a fun course to play, and when golfers finish their rounds, they can't wait to come back, and I think that's something the Magnolia Course will have. And I agree. Like it kind of had that before because I was always thinking, man, when's the next time I'm going to be able to play it? And yeah, it's something special. That whole property is special. I mean, I'm not, I can't say enough about the Palm either. Like the whole property there is special. Jason Day, he also teed it up. It's kind of a preview about a week before the Armour Palmer Invitational, and he said it's been a while since I've been here. I remember a lot of the holes, which were fantastic. The course looks phenomenal. So congratulations on that because, it seems like you guys are coming into really nice weather here. And the course and the way the grass is coming is fantastic too. Yeah. I mean, overall, we had a lot of fun. So the pros are even kind of shouting out and saying it's great. And I don't know, could we see it on the tour maybe as a special event? That'd be great to bring the PGA in some capacity back to Disney World.
Yeah, I feel like it just kind of writes itself into it too. Disney has all the different, I'm going to Disney World and all those different promos, and I feel like just a stop back at Disney World, it just makes a lot of sense, especially if you're ending the year again in Florida with the weather in October.
Yeah, I think you know what? It would be a great place for the Skins game. Let's do the Skins down there.
Let's tie it all back together.
Yeah, why
that'd
not?
be awesome.
It'd be fantastic. I don't have too much more in the notes. Another fun note that I found was with all the water there, at one point, Sam Snead basically started a fishing tournament in the waters there at the Magnolia Course. So that was kind of a fun little story I found. But yeah, I think he did a great telling about it. Good job on the architecture, the comparison, and with the old course, Man, it's going to be cool. It's going to be fun. And I can't wait to get down there to play it. I guess final thoughts is this looks bossed. It looks like Arnold Palmer Management and Ken Baker Designs, they partnered up with something really good. And who knows, maybe we'll see some changes coming to the other courses that are along the lines, which would be great. But yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be memorable. It's going to be probably tee time sold out from now until, I don't know, 5 years from now. But yeah, it'll be a good time. I'm really, really looking forward to playing that. And I say legitimately, and I'm hoping that I can get on it when I go down in October for Halloween, or September when I go down for Halloween. I'm going to try my best to get on that course. Kev, final thoughts?
No, I really enjoyed doing this. And especially listening to you, you brought a lot of cool, interesting facts just about Disney and the golf courses in general. So obviously one of my favorite things about doing this is actually learning more about the game, about different aspects of just life in this case with Disney and, the technologies and all that stuff. Really enjoyed doing this. I'm looking forward to the next ones, man.
Oh, absolutely. And speaking of the next one, we don't know what we're going to do. So if you have any suggestions, put it down in the comments. We may get to it. But yeah, we haven't decided if it'll be monthly or quarterly. That's kind of all up in the air. But I'm definitely looking forward to the next one. I think it'll be a lot of fun to do these deep dives that both talking about the history of courses, because there's so many courses out there that have wild histories and the architecture and redesigns and everything. I think it'll be a fun, it's going to be a fun series. And what's going to happen too, what we're planning on is hopefully we get to play these courses as well. And when we do get to play the courses, what we plan on doing is sort of remixing the episode where we give our fresh thoughts on the course, having just played it. Maybe we'll probably have some YouTube footage, maybe some shorts, that's all later on down the road. But we'll basically remix every episode that we do that we can play the course of, that we do one of these deep dives on. And it'll be great. I'll be interested to see what my thoughts are going to be on actually playing the course and kind of adding that and plussing this episode with it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hopefully getting out and getting... It's tough to talk about a course. It's another thing to experience and really have those exact moments that really stand out to you. So yeah, I'm looking to add to it as well.
Yeah, it'll be a good time. But yeah, I think that's going to wrap up this episode for us. So thank you guys all so much for tuning in. We got some good stuff on horizon, maybe a golf trip or two coming up. And don't forget to catch us everywhere podcasts are sold. Sold. Wow.
Yes.
Yes. As seen on TV. Don't forget to catch us everywhere you listen to podcasts, because we're on pretty much every platform now that I can think of. And so that's kind of cool. And we're on YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter, or X, whatever you want to call it, at Tending Flag. And Kevin kind of holds the social media. So, Kev, I'll throw it over to you for a social media update.
Yeah, a lot of cool things in the works. We have a couple of these courses that have been popping in our heads about doing, maybe one of these episodes on, but we're not just quite ready for. And I think I'm going to try to start doing them on maybe Instagram, and maybe porting it over to YouTube as a short as well, and kind of just getting feelers out and seeing how it goes. So yeah, a lot of cool things happening. Again, on Twitter or Instagram at Tending Flag. Yeah, and thanks for tuning in.
We'll get some cool pictures of Grumpy's Gauntlet up, I think, on the Instagram. Just gotta watermark them and all those good things, and give credit where credit's due. And speaking of giving credit where credit is due, I do have a whole list of people and websites that I need to thank for helping us put together this episode. We had Retro WDW. They do awesome work talking about the history of Walt Disney World and a bit about the Walt Disney Company as well. 4 great guys, awesome podcast. Highly, highly, highly recommend that one. We've got golfpass.com, themaritimeexplorer.ca, Wikipedia, of course. We got some information from Arnold Palmer Golf Management and WDW Golf. We looked into micechat.net. Imaginerding is another one, shadesgreen.com. We have Golf Digest, Golf Compendium, and a big, huge, major special thanks to George McNeilley at McNeilley Communications for sending us some info on Grumpy's Gauntlet specifically, which kind of helped us really kickstart this whole episode. Yeah, Kev, any special shout-outs, or?
Yeah, just a quick shout-out over to One Club Golf Network, and as well as Ken Baker at bakergolfdesign.com. Those are the guys that did the Grumpy's Gauntlet remodel. So shout out to them as well.
All right, awesome stuff. So I will bring it to a close. Once again, thank you guys so much for listening out there. We do this, one, because we enjoy it, but we also do it because you guys enjoy it. At least we hope you do. And we would be nothing without all of you guys out there liking, commenting, and subscribing, and telling your friends, so we can grow this whole thing. And we will see you guys next time with a bit of a Masters preview. So cheers and take care. Hit 'em straight.
Hit 'em straight. Looking forward to it. See you guys.